Good evening, citizens. It's I, Chief Inspector Luke Miani, and I'm joined here by my constable, Noah Rubin.
Reporting for duty.
All right, let's go get him.
Let's find all those fake leakers and round them up.
We'll round him up and throw him in the slammer. They really should bring that back. What a great word for prison.
Calling it the slammer.
Yeah. What's the other?
What do you think?
I feel like there's another one that I'm thinking of that's like another unusual name for a prison.
The lockup?
Let's
Isn't it
see,
like
there's
the clink
slammer.
or something like that?
Something similar to that. The hen house. No. The crap. I can't think of it. What's it called? Oh,
I
someone
don't
said
know.
throw them in the brig. That's good.
That's a good boat word. Boat version.
The brig. Put them in Davy Jones's locker.
Oh, the big house.
Oh, the big house. That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, what's the... So we've got Slammer. We've got the big house. I feel like there's another one that it's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember what it's called.
I don't know. I'm not an expert.
Crims.
See, you should be the expert. If you're the chief inspector, I
should.
feel like you should know this.
I really should know this. I mean, okay, well, there's like penitentiary. I'm trying to say other prison-y terms in the hopes that it'll remind me. Penitentiary. Alcatraz. Send them down to the station.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not creative enough. Someone said the joint. Someone said the Apple Store.
The Apple Store.
And also someone's asking if they're the prisoners. I think you guys are the jury in this situation.
I think so.
Right? Like I think
sense, yeah.
we are trying to the prisoners are those fake leakers that we're going to catch them and throw them in the slammer.
Right.
Exactly. I like it. I'll tell you who else is going to go in the slammer, Noah.
Who else?
The people the software engineers responsible for all these bugs in iOS 16. I've got a video coming out tomorrow. I tweeted 4 days ago. I said, hey, for a video, send me all your iOS 16 bugs. It's a lot. I got a large quantity. I couldn't even put them all in a video.
Yeah, there's definitely been... I did see that thread. I saw some interesting ones. Some of them I've seen before, some of them I haven't. The one that I get a lot is the vanishing widgets. You know, where the widgets like totally disappear and then you go to a different page and you go back.
I haven't gotten that one.
You haven't seen that? That happens pretty frequently to me.
We should, you know what? Let's start the podcast early because I want to talk about this.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
All right, let's go. Welcome to Dark Mode, the podcast that brings you sage advice from two technology experts. And that's not just what we call ourselves. It's what our moms tell people when their FaceTime call drops literally constantly and they ask for our help. I'm your host, Luke Miani.
And I'm your host, Noah Rubin. On this show, we take questions from listeners, attempt to answer them to varying degrees of success, and maybe even have a laugh or two along the way. Silent laugh.
Today, a silent laugh, because today we're here to cut the mustard. All right. I've had enough of this nonsense. All right. iOS 16 sucks. I feel like every update that comes out, we keep being like, this is the one. They're going to fix the bugs. And then every single time, they don't fix jack.
Yeah, I I don't know, because I feel like iOS 16 wasn't even that big of an update in the first place.
Yeah.
And you know, like there are some times where there's like really big updates with lots of features, and then there are some that are like less jam-packed, and then those you expect to be like the stability improvements and the bug fixes. But it seems like iOS 16 is neither of those things.
Yeah, they kind of just didn't add very much and then broke whatever was left.
Yeah.
So I gotta tell you, Noah, the worst bug of all happened to me this past weekend. And by this past weekend, I mean Friday? No, it was this past week. It was Wednesday. All right.
Okay.
Wednesday, the worst bug of all time happened. And that was, I think I know why it happened, which is that you know how you get a call and you're talking like this. There's the proximity sensor that disables the display. So it turns off and the touch doesn't work so that you don't hit it with your head. So I was on the phone, hung up the call. Well, I didn't hang up the call, which I think is part of why this bug happened. But the screen just did not come back. Wouldn't come back at all. So I then got a call back and I answered it on my Apple Watch. So the phone was working, right? You can mute. I was muting it and I could feel the haptic. I could look at it. Like I would hit the lock button, look at it, tap the screen, and hear the click of the Face ID haptic feedback. But no screen. Couldn't see anything. And it wasn't even like a, lock it, turn it back on again. Most of the iOS 16 bugs are like that, where it's like, you just lock your phone and try again. But this one, I had to put the phone in DFU mode to get it to come back.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that's
it was
not
really
great.
bad.
I've never run into a bug that bad, I don't think. Wait, now I'm trying to remember. Dude, there was one night, I forget if this was iOS 16 or maybe it was 15, but I feel like it would have been, no, it might have been 15. But there was one night where my phone was like boot looping and I had to reinstall iOS to get it to work again. That happened one time.
That's,
yeah.
Dude, okay, how do you say I've never had a bug that bad, and then you come back and say, oh, actually, there was this one time where I had to reinstall the operating system.
Okay,
That's
I forgot.
Worse.
I forgot, but that is worse. But it was pretty
wow,
bad.
That's bad. Holy cow. And I forgot to mention, actually, speaking of a boot loop, this happened again today. As I was going, I was setting my camera up to film a video about iOS 16 bugs, and it still went into it. The screen stopped working. Now that time the phone crashed and restarted. I got that on camera. Like it just rebooted. And I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, I guess we're just doing that now. Good gosh.
Yikes. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, yeah, I've noticed, we were talking about this very briefly in the pre-show, but sometimes my widgets will disappear. So like I have, 3 widgets. This is my main home screen. I have just 3 widgets on here, and pretty frequently a couple of them will like completely disappear. Like there will just be a hole. Like you still see the wallpaper, but like where the widget is, there's just nothing. And then usually I swipe to a different page and come back and it works. But like that happens fairly frequently, and that's also annoying.
Jeez. The one that happens to me most often, I would say, is I hit the photos tray in iMessage. Oh, I just got it to happen. Literally right now. You hit the photos tray and it just comes up gray and it never ever loads. This happens
I hate that
all
interface.
the time.
That interface sucks. The iMessage apps sucks.
It sucks because sometimes, like when you type, then it goes away and it hides, and you have to tap on the app button to bring it back. It's really bad, and you can get it to do that bug really, really easily. Like pretty much every other time. Like if I start a new conversation with you, all right, here it goes. You can just hit the I hit the Photos app once and it'll bring it up. I exit out and bring it up again and it's broken. It's that easy to
Oh
replicate that bug.
no. That's
It happens
that's
all
bad.
the time. I don't get it. I genuinely don't understand why it's that hard for them to like that has been on the iPhone since like iOS 8, I want to say.
Yeah, it was a long I remember when we made the video for your channel about the iMessage apps, and that was a long time ago.
Yeah, I think that video was one of my most viewed videos for a while. I think that was like 2016.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
But it was like I mean it's absolutely crazy to me that that has been a feature on the iPhone for at least 6 years, and now it's getting buggy. Like my goodness. They they really need to get it together, okay? Because one of the things I talk about in my video, I don't want to give too much away because it's going to be out tomorrow morning. So you'll see it all in its glory then. But one of the things that really peeves me is, or that worries me, I should say, is that if this is like a 1 year thing, then at the end of the day, we'll look back on it and be like, ah, remember iOS 16? That one sucked. But if it becomes like a continual thing, people complain about battery life. FaceTime drops calls it's pathological how much it drops calls, and it's almost unusable at this point. If this becomes a pattern, that is going to seriously do some damage, because one of the reasons why people love the iPhone is it's the walled garden where everything is protected and perfect. And they're like, all right, you can't sideload apps or customize stuff as much as you want to, but it's okay because we're going to make sure everything is perfect and protected and really smooth and wonderful. And now it's not. And it's not even the third-party apps that are broken. It's first-party stuff. Like the very essential core features of the iPhone are just like not really that functional.
Yeah, and for me, I've definitely noticed some bugs. The worst thing for me is the battery life, and I don't want to get into a whole Pro versus Pro Max argument because Lord knows we've done that plenty of times, but my phone does
And
not
I'll
last a
eviscerate
full
you every
day.
time.
Well, you're welcome to try, but my phone does not last a full day. I have to charge it like at the end of the. It'll last
That's
like
not
until the
good.
night, but I have to charge it, at night if I want to keep
Right.
using it, which I do.
You want to keep using your phone? You're
I
not okay with
know.
just using your phone until 8 p.m. and then just stopping?
Honestly, that would probably be like pretty healthy, lifestyle choice to make, but no, I don't want to do that.
That's fair. Now, out of curiosity, I am wondering, what's your screen time? Because obviously I have the Pro Max, but I've been told that my screen time is generally on the lower side compared to some people. If it would load, because right
Yeah, mine's
now,
not loading.
oh, it just loaded. Hit day and then go back to week, and then it should load. Good Lord. The bugs are ridiculous, bro.
It's still loading. Look at this. It's still empty and it says
Oh
it's
no.
loading. It says
Wait,
it was
hit the
updated 1
see
minute
all
ago.
activity and then it should do it.
No. And I
Bruh.
tried hitting the buttons at the top and I tried changing the device in the
Bruh.
corner and now it's not loading. So there you go. Another bug.
Cool. Cool. Nice. Good work. This is great. We're just uncovering bugs live on stream. Jeebus.
Yep.
So my daily average is 4.5 hours. It's sometimes it does get as high as 6 hours. I think I was traveling though, so I think there's some like plane watching a movie going on there.
Hmm.
So yeah, 6 hours, and then it went down to 4, and then 4:45, and now 4.5. So not, not that much. I know that there are so many people that have like 7, 8 hours of screen time, which actually blows my mind. I'm like, how? That's the whole day. That's like
Yeah.
all of it, the day. Jeez.
Yeah, so here's my question, because someone in the chat asked this. What's your battery health?
Oh, that's a great one. Yeah. So now again, I generally don't tend to speak all that much on the past my initial tests where I do like standardized battery testing. I generally don't talk about like, oh well, the battery life is great or the battery life is bad, because I know that I have lower than normal screen time. I'm a Mac guy. I'm always looking at Mac screens instead of iPhone screens. So I'm not quite the most reliable source for that. But all of that is to say, I do have 100% battery life, probably because I pretty much charge only with wireless charging, which is slower than like when you have to like really quickly juice it up and you fast charge it. And because I don't use it as much, I generally don't run through my whole battery. I'm at 50% right now.
Yeah, so mine is at 96%. And
Mm.
I checked not that long ago and it was at 97%. So I was very surprised when I just looked at it just now.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Oh, here's a great question actually here. Do you use AOD on your iPhone?
I do. And I'm sure that
Mm.
definitely contributes. First of all, do you? Do you?
I do not.
You don't. But that's
I
like
don't
one of
like
the
it.
features. I get that it contributes, to the battery life in a very strong way, but like that was one of the major features of the iPhone. I should be able to use it and still have decent battery
I
life.
I just don't like the way that they implemented it.
What don't you like about it?
It's too much screen. And you can see the notifications and stuff. I don't like that.
Can't you
It just
turn
looks
some
like
of that off?
I think they did make that in like 16.1 or 16.2, but honestly, I I like to have my phone I I try to limit it in some ways. Like I think we're all addicted to our phones. I think there's no point in trying to, pretend that we're not. And, if ever there's a moment of boredom, it's the first thing that I grab. Like it's a habit, obviously. But I generally, when I'm working, will put my phone face down on the table, not in my pocket, not face up. So the AOD, like it's either in my pocket or it's face down on a table or I'm using it. So there's not really any time where I would find AOD helpful because my phone is just never face up right next to me.
That's fair enough. I'd have to think about how helpful it actually is. Honestly, it's probably not worth it given the battery drain, but like, I don't know. Occasionally, like right now, it's sitting face up on my desk right here, and I can glance over and see that I have some spam notifications. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I don't want to see that. I feel like it's all cluttered. I always have so many like random notifications from like 150 years ago. Like I just scrolled down to the bottom here and I'm getting I have a notification here for my home hub not responding 2 Wednesdays ago. I don't
Oh,
need that.
nice.
Why is that here? Why do I have to manually clear that? God, notification center. They need to work on it because this is I don't really get that many notifications, but this is too many notifications. This is too much. These need to time out. Like Chipotle, it's National Burrito Day. Get a $0 delivery fee with code DELIVER today only. That's from Tuesday.
Oh, you missed that?
I missed it by days. Not to mention, I don't eat Chipotle that much, and I don't use the app barely at all. Why is that notification just hanging out forever?
Well, here's the thing. First of all, I agree that notifications should go away once the offer expires. But the other thing is that, people can say like, oh, you should just use the better, like the notification, you can silence notifications if you don't want to get them at all, or you can put them in the summary or whatever they call it, but like that summary that shows up like once or twice a day, right? And so I use that. And then when it comes to me, it's a ginormous like blob. And then when you tap on it, it becomes this even bigger, ginormous blob. And it's like, it's horrible.
That's the entire screen it takes up.
Yeah, and it's all the stuff that I don't care about. Like it's good that it suppresses it and holds it and doesn't like vibrate my wrist on my watch. Like that's good. But like this implementation, the way that they have it right now, where it like, it comes in this one giant blob, like, oh, it's so ugly. There's got to be a better way to handle notifications.
They just sort of, rather than having that sort of drip, drip, drip of irritating notifications, they just put it in a little water balloon, and then at the end of the day, just smash it over your head.
Yeah.
That's all that is.
Yeah, exactly. And they make it even uglier. Like this looks uglier than if they just sent you all the notifications at once. It's bad.
Oh God. The thought though of them just sending all the notifications at once, and it's just like an avalanche of nonsense promotional offers from an app that you downloaded a year ago so that you could get a coupon. And it's like, hey, come in today only to this store that's out of your way and probably not even in the same state, so you can get 10% off a thing you don't want. Good God. I don't want that.
Yeah. And then so Ethan in the chat had a really good point that you should be able to toggle specific notifications like Amazon tracking and not recommendations. I absolutely agree. And the one place where this like ugly blob actually works is for Instagram. I open Instagram like once a week maximum, and I go in there for like 2 minutes. I don't use Instagram. But when someone messages me like a direct message on Instagram, I get it immediately. But when it's all those, how Instagram notifies you like 5 times a day, like, oh, this person that you don't care about, like added something to their story, like that bullshit, like that goes into the blob. So that goes into the blob.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's most of the blob. That like very often comprises the majority of the blob. But
maybe I got to get on that blob lifestyle.
You should try. I mean, it's ugly, but it might save your wrist from vibrating a little bit. So I don't know.
That's true. That's a good trade-off. I mean, dude, Instagram really is on some shit. It's like, hey, this guy from high school who you haven't spoken to in 7 years added something to their story. Do you want to look at that right now at 2:58 p.m.? I'm like, not particularly. The worst part is if you ever do actually click on them, they're all like old anyway. Like sometimes it'll say like, hey, just wanted to let you know that this person you haven't spoken to in half a decade just posted something. And you click on it and it's like 14 hours old. It's like how does that work in Instagram? It's just like, oh my God, Luke needs to know about this. Holy crap, I forgot. I'm sorry, I forgot. That's on me. I know you haven't spoken in 5 years, but I just thought you might want to know. And Snapchat does it too. Dude, I have disabled Snapchat notifications, and I swear to God, it finds a way. I think I have disabled Snapchat notifications 12 times, and I will still get a notification every once in a while that's like, hey, this person that you met at the college tour for a college that you didn't end up going to, but that you met for 2 hours and exchanged Snapchats. That guy, yeah, he put a story on. Huh.
So bad. It's so
That's
bad.
terrible. I agree with Richard in the comments here. We need a notification jail. I don't want just a blob. I want to be able to arrest certain applications and say, hey, you know what? No more notifications for you. You're done.
We need a notification slammer, a notification
Hell yeah.
lockup, bringing it
We
back.
do. The notification penitentiary and slash insane asylum, because that's where I'm going to end up if this keeps going.
That's true. I mean, they call Apple the walled garden, right? I feel like what kind of imagery does that evoke? A prison, maybe a nice prison. Those walls.
maybe an insane asylum, because walled garden kind of does sound like that,
right? And that's where these notifications belong.
I agree. Let me see if I have one of those aforementioned. Oh, the worst one is because I'm on TikTok now. You have to be. So I'm on TikTok. You know how it is. TikTok, by the way, stupid app. Ridiculous. Every once in a while, I post something, and then it's just like, oh, hey, here you go. Here's 30 million views. And I'm like, oh, good God. And then I'm like, hey, here's something better. And it's like, nah, they don't like that. I'm like, what? Do you want to show it? Maybe they'll like it. And TikTok's like, no, they're not going to like that. Trust me. So I don't know, but I'm on there. And one of the things that if you have TikTok, you basically have to get CapCut, which is like their little video editor thing. And because it like does auto captions and a bunch of useful things that help engagement. But they send so many stupid notifications. They like, I don't even know what some of them mean. Like sometimes it's like, I'm trying to find an example. Of course, now I only have one, which is fairly logical. Actually, no, it's not logical. I take that back. So I don't know how it's possible, but like, you know how there's sort of a subject line and then a headline in a notification. So like the bolder one will be like, CNN and then the headline of the article, or it'll say like weekly report available. Your screen time was up 20%, right? That sort of stuff. This one says received a new message, heart emoji. What does that mean? And then it says 14,000 people like this template, sun emoji. I don't know what that means. And if I click on it, I'm assuming it's going to take me. What is this? Why is this on? Why did I get a notification about this?
What is that?
It's a trending template. And also the template is called, I don't know. I don't even know if I want to say that. I don't think I want to show this either. The template's called Booba Girl, which I don't know what that possibly means.
Oh, geez.
Why am I getting a notification? I use this to put captions on videos. Why is it sending me a notification about this? And can it access my Wi-Fi? Yes, it's a video editing app.
It's not like TikTok, the app. It's TikTok's video editor app.
Yes.
Bro. That's bad. That's so bad.
I don't know, man. I don't get it. I get more notifications from CapCut than from TikTok.
Jeez.
Good Lord,
man.
I agree with Ethan here. I don't want promotion notifications. And once Apple has fixed all the bugs, might take a while, but they really should add a feature whereby you can, they should smart filter notifications, because like clearly there is something going on here where there's like an A tier Instagram notification when somebody messages you, and I was going to say B tier, but it's probably all the way down to Z by the time it's like, hey, random guy put a story up. You want to see it? It clearly is able to differentiate that, something is an actual message, something intended to reach you. And the other thing is just a promotional nonsense. And I feel like Apple being the world's richest company, should be able to let you filter out those promotional nonsense ones into their own separate thing so that it's not vibrating your wrist on your Apple Watch, like going doo-doo-doo, interrupting your meeting, just so that it could be like, hey, come get Taco Bell.
Yeah, I think there's two approaches that Apple can take, and they should do both of them. The first one is what you're saying, basically like a spam filter, but for notifications instead of email. That's one thing. The other thing is Apple needs to add, APIs to differentiate. There already are APIs in place to tell when something is like a message versus like a message from a person versus not. And then there's that, like, the time sensitive notifications and like all of that stuff. There needs to be like differentiation between like notifications like from people or like things you'd actually want to see, and then things that are like, ooh, tap on me to go spend time in my app, like those the junk ones. And Apple's already done ask apps not to track, and they've done, apps have to allow you to delete your data in them. There's like a bunch of things that Apple has done. There's no reason why they can't compel developers to properly label notifications. There's no reason why Apple shouldn't be able to fix this.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. I think honestly, a big thing holding Apple back from being able to fix this right now is that they're really, really lagging on the AI front. That's a big problem. Like, they always talk about machine learning and like on-device computation for privacy reasons. Like with Siri handling a lot of things on device, it means they don't have to have as many recordings, or the lag time in using the cell service or your Wi-Fi to like send a recording, process it, find a result, and send it back to your phone. I get all of that, but at the same time, Siri's really stupid. Okay, I appreciate the integrity of prioritizing privacy, but at the same time, it sucks, dude. Siri sucks. We did that on the show. There's this, it still can't do this. Watch this. Hey Siri, lights off.
Okay, which room? Bedroom, living room, or everywhere?
Living room. All right, well, to be fair, it missed some. So good work there. Hey Siri, lights daylight mode. It frankly did better than it has done in the past, but most of the time there's a certain combination of like phrasing, all very obviously designed to perform the same function. And it says like, which room do you want to turn off? And I say living room, and then it just says, go ahead.
Oh yeah, that happened last week.
Yeah, what is that, bro? What is go ahead? What do you mean go ahead? What is it telling me to kick rocks?
Yeah, it's like, you go ahead, turn the lights off if you want them off.
Do it yourself, you lazy bitch. And I'm like, no, why are you being mean to me? You're a robot. All you have to do, it's a pre-programmed task. It's not even having to do any thinking. It's an app with the Siri shortcut that turns the lights off. Why is that difficult?
I don't know. Siri is oh geez, you're turning people's lights off.
Oops.
It happens. I don't know. Siri is really bad, and I agree with you about the privacy. Apple, definitely takes privacy, they're more concerned with privacy, they're better with it, but there are still ways to respect privacy and improve things. Like there are versions of like ChatGPT that can run, offline, they can run locally. Not that Apple even needs to do that, but like there are like you can maybe Apple needs to just play catch up, but you can take these models that exist now, and you can run them in like ways that respect people's privacy, and
Right.
Apple needs to do that.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, because you can have it both ways. It's not impossible. And we can't really be in the business of making excuses for the richest company in the world, because it's not as though they don't have the resources to make stuff like this happen. I think we're reaching a point with technology companies where they aren't startups anymore, right? You go back to like the 90s, 2000s, even the early 2010s, shows like Silicon Valley, right? They kind of show how the knowledge of technology kind of got ahead of some companies. I think that's true of Facebook. Facebook, you look at Mark Zuckerberg whenever he has to talk about like, hey, so your platform is used for extremist groups. And he's like, well, I tried to make an app for dating in college, and now my app is being used to throw elections. Oh dear. Like, you can kind of sense that he's just in over his head a little bit. But we're at a point now where there's no more excuses. It's 2023. These are all established, extremely large companies with boards of directors and lots of staff and talent. It's time for them to figure it out. You just got to figure it out. If you want to be this largest company in the world, you can figure out how to make Siri understand how to turn off some lights. It can't be that hard in the grand scheme of things.
That is true. And now let me ask you a question. First of all,
okay,
obviously very clear that Apple is way behind. Even like, I guess the point I'm trying to make. So you go back a couple months. The past couple of months, there's been this like explosion in AI, Chat GPT, Bing AI, Bard, whatever. All of like this huge explosion has been relatively recent. If you go back to before that explosion in AI, even then Siri was still, it still was way behind, and it still needed a lot of work, and Apple should have put more work into it. But now there's been this explosion, and it becomes even more clear, Siri's fallen even further behind, and we've seen all these incredible things that AI can do, and it makes us realize, even more how bad Siri is, even though we already knew. So my question is, given that this explosion has happened in the past few months, and Google and Microsoft and other companies have like, I don't want to say that they rushed things out. They kind of did, but like they, brought things to market very quickly. Do you think Apple is going to announce some big AI stuff at Dub, or do you think that they're not ready for it yet?
Okay. On the one hand, I do see Apple as being the company that really takes their time with this stuff. But at the same time, to your point, Siri has already been lacking. So I don't necessarily think that this is one of those Apple situations where they're not the first, but they're the best. I think this is just a straight up weakness that they have. I mean, I can go on a website right now. I can go in a Discord server right now and get an AI to generate a photorealistic image of the Pope wearing like the Michelin Man costume. Remember that one that went viral?
Yep,
I can get photorealistic images in 10 seconds, and I can't get Siri to turn my lights off. Like, Apple, I know that they like to take their time and perfect, but in the AI space, they don't have that same reputation. In terms of devices and capabilities and hardware, yes, they do Apple Silicon, they do it right. They do the iPhone, they do it right. The Apple Watch, they were not the first wearable at all, but they're the best for a reason. But when you look on the software side, particularly when you look at like, it's not a hard-coded feature. Apple does hard-coded features. Like, you can do this. Your iPhone now has this specific thing that we gave it. They have zero track record of computer intelligence, really. The only computer intelligence that they have is, I wouldn't count computational photography because that's very, very specific and designed to do one intended purpose. the closest is Siri, and Siri is so far behind. I mean, Siri today is really not that far ahead of Siri 12 years ago when it came out. It is very close to being just canned, call and response.
Yeah, it really hasn't improved. And I think I agree with you to your point. And I think another area where you could say that there's like computational intelligence or whatever is like maybe autocorrect and like the predictive text thing above the keyboard, which are bad. Especially the predictive text is completely useless.
Yeah. No, when it came out, I think that was also the same year that the iOS games we talked about earlier came out, like 2016.
I think so, yeah, around then.
They made all these claims about how it learns your typing style. All it does is see if there's a word that you say a lot and then suggest that word at random intervals.
Yeah, it's like I have never used, the only time I've ever used that bar is when it's about to autocorrect something and I'm like, no, I wrote it the right way. And you tap on the one in the middle. That's the only time that I've ever used that bar, like legitimately.
No, you're absolutely right. It's useless. It's, first of all, most of the words are just like meaningless filler. Like at any given moment, the word the, and, in, then, or that, the most like basic 3 or 4 letter words are there. And yeah, I mean, basically the only time I use it is when I'm trying to force it to not autocorrect something that I spelled correctly.
Yeah. And I feel like, and the funny thing is that this is quite literally like what all of these models like ChatGPT and stuff do. They're literally predictive text models. That's like how they work. So like, not that Apple, obviously Apple isn't, we don't know. I don't know what technology Apple is using. Maybe they've said it, maybe they haven't. But like, it's just funny that like these incredibly sophisticated AIs are using this same, core idea of predictive text. And then meanwhile, the predictive text in Apple, in the Apple keyboard is just so bad. So Apple has a long way to come with this. And I think an important point that Ethan made in the chat a little bit up was saying if Apple doesn't announce AI stuff at DubDub, they will be too far behind if they wait until next year. Because this, DubDub is when they announce the software upgrades, and Siri would be part of a software upgrade. They can't wait another, well, they could, but like imagine if they wait another year and Siri stays the same and it falls. Imagine what AI is going to look like in a year from now. Seriously.
Like it hasn't even gotten to the point where it's being... It isn't really even getting to the voice digital assistants yet. Like right now, it's just text based, and it's already so much better. Like, okay, realistically, it wouldn't take that much to convert that to text to speech, because you'd basically be doing the same thing, right? Instead of typing to it, it recognizes your speech, and then instead of responding in text, it just pronounces those words, right? It's basically there, but it hasn't yet officially, it's not in like the Google Assistant like speech on your phone. But a year from now, 100% you'll be able to just be like, hey Cortana, or okay Google, and do all of that stuff. It'll probably be in cars before it gets to Apple if they wait a year. Like that, this is going to be really bad for them.
Yeah, they, as you've said, they have a long way to catch up, and they really need to do it, because like we've seen how fast AI has developed and things have moved in the past couple months, and then you wait even longer than that, things go even further. Siri falls even further behind. Like eventually there's a point where you either like can't catch up, or you have to buy or partner with, the way that Microsoft uses ChatGPT and their Bing AI. Like you have to do something like that. Like I don't know if Apple, and I feel like Apple doesn't really like to do that. They like to own the full experience, especially if there's privacy concerns and having some, third-party company work with them, whatever. Like, I don't know what Apple's going to do with this, unless they've been working on something secretive. I don't know.
I mean, they're always working on something secretive. So I would absolutely imagine that they are. But the problem, I think, is exactly that. I don't think Apple is going to say, like, oh, hey, let's just put Chat GPT into Bing, right? They're not going to just say, like, hey, take Chat GPT and just plug it right into Siri. Bob's your uncle, walk away, hands free. They're not going to do that. For better or for worse. I think there are advantages to them not wanting to do that because we've all, joked about how like Chat GPT will very confidently be like, yes, well, 2 + 2 = 3, because of course one cannot simply add 2 to another 2 and first has to subtract a 1. Like, it just makes up nonsense sometimes. So I get why they don't want to integrate it right, like straight into Siri. But that probably means that Apple is trying to make a large language model from scratch, which is stupid. It's going to take a long time.
Yeah, there's definitely, I agree with your point, because these AI models that will confidently say things that are wrong can be dangerous. I think they're doubly dangerous when it's a search engine that is, like Bing AI or Bard. We love Bard on this show, obviously, but
Yes.
these AIs, right? That it seems like it's Google or Microsoft Bing telling you these facts, and people might be more likely to believe them. Those are places versus if you just go to like Chat GPT website and that you're talking to Chat GPT, it might be wrong. There's like warnings plastered all over the place, whatever. And there are on the other places too, but just the fact that it's coming from Google or Microsoft gives it a different a different context, a different weight. But the other thing I was going to say was, I saw on Twitter that there are like Chat GPT plugins rolling out, so you can integrate Chat GPT with, like, I saw Wolfram Alpha, or like, searching the web, or like a bunch of other services and stuff. And I feel like that could be a potential solution, that when you ask it a question that's not subjective, but that requires like a factual answer, that it would just use, like Siri uses Wolfram Alpha to answer questions. Why couldn't a new, more powerful version of Siri also do the same thing while also handling requests better and being more natural?
That's a really good point. I think you could definitely just, I guess what you're saying is you could adapt it to a specific use case so that you could avoid those pitfalls without having to just make your own one completely from scratch.
Yeah, I think there are ways, or even if Apple is doing their own from scratch, theoretically, I think like there is really the concern about like real, the AI saying something incorrect in a way that makes you think it's correct. That's a legitimate concern. And I guess, there are ways around it to integrate with authoritative sources and just make sure that those requests for factual information are handled by the authoritative sources, and that the AI doesn't just make something up for it. Like, that is a legitimate concern, but it does seem like it's not an insurmountable problem, that Apple should be able to figure that out and do something.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it seems like the OpenAI has done a decently good job with ChatGPT of, like, it's not rampantly spreading misinformation or, what was that one? I think Microsoft did an AI Twitter bot that got radicalized within like 24
Tay.
hours.
Yeah, the
Yes.
Tay bot.
Yeah, and it was literally like it became a Nazi, and it was like speed running becoming a Nazi in under 24 hours. Like, they've done a good job with Chat GPT of having those boundaries where it's not like, oh, well, the moon landing was fake, and George Bush did 9/11, but 2 + 2 = 5. Like, it's not getting that crazy. It's just these like little minor things. Like, I think we talked about Bard saying like January, February, Marchuary, Apruary, Mayuary. Like, there's goofy stuff like that, but it's not It's not like radicalizing flat earthers or anything.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not doing it's definitely doing better than it has. And like, yes, you can get these things to say outrageous things, but you have to really prompt them in such a strong and leading. You've seen like the jailbreaks, like the Dan, like whatever, do anything now, like all those things. But you have to like really, you know, sort of almost trick it basically into doing these things in a way that it wasn't, you know, you didn't have to before. So it's definitely safer, and with all the warnings that are plastered on the website, you know, you shouldn't trust necessarily, like blindly trust whatever it says. It might say the wrong thing. You can easily report things that are wrong or bad, whatever. It's definitely safer. And so I wonder, because there was a comment about, oh, it was Ethan again. Ethan's on fire today with these messages. He said, why can't Apple just tell us they're working on an AI Siri, but it's in developmental or beta stages? And maybe even more so, I wonder, Apple has slowly over the years gotten a little more comfortable releasing things in beta or slapping the beta label on things. Like the sidecar, I think, was a beta feature for some time. And there were a couple of other features that were like, that had like a beta, you know, tag next to them. I wonder if Apple could do something like that with Siri.
And you know what else they're becoming more comfortable with? Is just like releasing features out of sync with an operating system. Because I feel like that's something that most phones or operating systems or pretty much everyone else is perfectly comfortable just saying like, hey, here's this new feature that's ready and we're going to release it when it's ready. Apple is stuck on this rigid WWDC schedule where it's like they will only ever announce something in June. There's no like, okay, maybe Apple Music Classical. Like that's not an iOS core feature, that's an app, right? So that's the only thing that they'll ever announce off cycle. But everything, and it's stuff when it's not ready. Like Sidecar, to your point, didn't launch until way later. It was like almost a full iOS, iPadOS, macOS behind by the time it actually launched. Freeform, that's another one. They announced that last summer. We only just got it, I think, on 16.4, was it?
Yeah, it was like 16.3 or something. It was a couple months ago.
Yeah, it was this year. It was 8 months after they announced it. Like it's just very weird to me that Apple in some ways is this very forward thinking, like, you know, futuristic company that will revolutionize computing 1 year. You know, they'll give us Apple Silicon with insane, like truly raising the game. And then they'll have these weird, rigid traditions that hold them back. And they'll have a product like Siri that was outdated in 2015, frankly. And now it's been 8 more years and it barely is any better. It's so perplexing that you have this duality.
Yeah, and I know they like to save, you know, lots of features for like the big release and the big dub announcement. I do agree that they have, you know, they like to announce these things you know, ahead of time, and now they're more comfortable with releasing things. Maybe it's that they're more comfortable, maybe it's that, like, I don't want to say that their standards have dropped, but maybe they're like, maybe in the past, like, you know, Freeform, for example, it launched, you know, months after the major iOS update version launched, right? Maybe in the past, Apple would have just said, okay, you know what, we're not announcing Freeform this year. It's gonna just have to be pushed back to next year. Whereas now Apple is willing to say, we're gonna announce it now, and it's delayed by a few months or whatever, but that's okay. We'll release it later. So maybe Apple is changing, you know, in that regard.
That's definitely true. It's undeniable that they are becoming more comfortable saying like, hey, this is a thing that we're working on that's not ready. Sometimes for better or for worse. Air power. And I don't know. I just think that perhaps perhaps it would benefit Apple to, rather than trying to shoehorn everything into these rigid structures, just be a little bit more freeform, pun intended. Like, imagine this: no mention of freeform at all at last year's WWDC, but December comes around. That's when it was actually ready. What if they had done a press release drop of like, this is a new app that we've been working on. Boom. It drops with this iOS update right now. One could argue it would get more attention if it was announced and available at the same time versus announcing it and then we wait 3 months until the iOS comes out, everyone downloads it, and then we still wait 3 more months before we can actually get the app, by which point nobody really cares about it because it was announced 6 months ago.
That's true. And it was announced alongside all of the other features. So it's
Exactly.
more easy to forget. It's less, of a big deal versus like, yeah, it gets a dedicated press release and then people are, that's what people are going to talk about. That day, everyone's going to tweet about it. Like, oh, cool. Apple's launching a new app. Let's check it out.
Like I saw very, very muted coverage of Freeform. There was just a couple of tweets saying like Freeform now available. Because it's not newsworthy. It's been around. It was leaked. It was in beta. It was, announced. And then the iOS version came out and we've just been waiting on it. And it seemed like it kind of, it just came and went. It wasn't that exciting or cool. I think a lot of it comes down to Apple really likes the pageantry of those events. We can't deny it, even with COVID, where they're now doing these virtual events, which I honestly prefer, so I'm not trying to stop them. But they very clearly love to get up on stage in front of a bunch of people and go, we have built the most incredible thing. It's a small speaker, and we call it the HomePod Mini, and you're going to love it. They love to do that rather than just saying like, hey, here's a new thing we've been working on, and now it's available.
And to be fair, we love those events too. Of course, we cover them every time they happen. We love them. But I agree, there's enough features. Every event has enough stuff in it that if a little bit, were to be pulled out and announced later, there would still be plenty to talk about and plenty of stuff people to be excited about. And it's a good point.
It might even help with the tech droughts. Because I mean, think about it this way. Remember in, I guess it was late January, we got the M2 Pro and Max. We had that whole big drop. That was a lot of fun. That was super exciting. But I think we have to all remember that was very obviously supposed to happen in October. Like the way that they even edited that chunk out of what was obviously going to be an Apple event and just dropped like a 20-minute YouTube video as if we wouldn't figure out that they just literally Command X'd that from their timeline in Final Cut Pro. Like it was pretty transparent. But I would argue, Noah, that right now we're in a tech drought. Tech views are down. Everyone's talking about like, damn, we need WWDC to come because we're bored. And that's with these MacBook Pros coming out in January, shipping in February. They would have come out in October and shipped in November. So we would have been December, January, February, April, no spring event, remember, or March, April, and then May, and then June. We would have had 6 months of not a single peep. Oh, except for Apple Music Classical.
Can't forget about that.
Could you imagine 6 months where they don't say a darn word? In 2002, sure, build the hype, do what you got to do. It's 2023. I don't think that strategy works as well as they think it does.
Yeah, I definitely, as much as we love these big events, we've got the June event We've got a September event, usually the October, November event, whatever. I think Apple would do well to spread things out more, give, more. It keeps people talking about them more. Like, I get the idea of like, oh, we're going to announce all this stuff at once and it's going to be this big, extravaganza and everyone's going to love it and whatever.
An
But like,
extravaganza.
but then it's like there's months where you and obviously you and other tech influencers, content creators, whatever, like you have stuff to do. You can look at the stuff that exists, you can do fun projects, whatever, but like, though, you're not like, it's not like advertising. Like if Apple does this stuff, not that they're trying to get like advertisements, but like when Apple releases new things, people talk about them and it generates hype and it gets people talking about them. And then when there's these like months long stretches where they haven't done anything, it's like you can't talk about stuff from months ago. You got to do other stuff. It's like, I don't know, why not keep it fresh?
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, oh, I forgot about that. Noah, I've been a fool. They haven't been completely quiet. They made the iPhone yellow.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, so we can't forget about that. They painted a phone. That's exciting.
Half of their flagship iPhone lineup.
Yeah, yes. Well, yeah, half of it got paint.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. There you go.
That's, I mean,
it's a month right there at least. Month of content.
Dude, I had people in my comments being like, "Hey, are you going to cover the yellow iPhone?" I'm like,
how?
I'm sorry, what is there to cover? I don't mean to disrespect my fellow YouTuber brethren, but if you made a video on the yellow iPhone 14, why? What and about what? What? Serious question. What on God's green earth is there to talk about? It's like, it's a TikTok at most. Hey, this is the new yellow iPhone. Wow, it's yellow. I either like it or don't like it. Thanks for watching.
Yep, that's about it.
I want to see the most viewed yellow iPhone video. I'm assuming it was an unboxing. Holy cow. They got 15 million views on the Hello Yellow app, the ad for it. Now, a lot of that is that they use that for paid advertising because I've seen it many times, but my goodness, they are really pushing that.
Yeah.
So some of these videos, I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to talk about whom they are, but somebody uploaded a iPhone 14 and 14 Plus color comparison and unboxing. 11.5 minutes. How do you talk about paint for 11.5 minutes?
I don't know.
Here's another one. Over 10 minutes. Over 11 minutes and 12 seconds about paint. What? It blows my mind.
I would say that's impressive, but we also somehow managed to talk about nothing for an hour. So I feel like that's pretty good.
You know what? You are right. You are right. Oh, no. You know what? You're wrong. You're wrong. I take it all back because somebody made a video called "Don't Buy the Yellow iPhone 14 Until You Watch This." Why? What is there to talk about? That one's 7 minutes, so it's not that crazy. Somebody 4 days ago, not even recent, made a video called "Why Apple Made New Yellow iPhone 14." 2.1 million views. That's more than my channel gets in a month.
Was that Apple
It's a video
explained?
about paint.
Was that Apple explained?
No,
That sounds like one of their kinds of videos, right?
it does. It does. It sounds like an Apple Explain video for like why the iPhone mute switch is orange, and that'll have like 7 million views.
Yep.
Damn, I guess I'm just not a very good YouTuber then, because clearly I'm doing something wrong.
You didn't cover the yellow iPhone. That's your problem right there.
That's on me, guys. I'm sorry. I should have done better.
You know what? Here's your chance to redeem yourself. Why don't you take as much time as you need right now and cover the yellow iPhone? Go for it.
Okay, so here's the new feature of the yellow iPhone. It's yellow, whereas previously it was not yellow. Now, this can have a number of benefits. For example, if you are someone whose workflow requires more amounts of yellow, then you might like the yellow iPhone. However, if you are someone whose workflow does not require yellow, then you might not notice the additional yellow. Now let's talk performance. The yellow adds no performance. Okay, let's talk battery life. The yellow does not impact battery life. All right, now let me do a comprehensive review of the camera. And this is good news. The camera is not yellow, so the camera looks normal, which is good. Ta-da!
So. In conclusion, what's the final verdict?
The final verdict. Well, we'll rate it on all of the important categories. So a color, 10 out of 10. Performance, 7 out of 10. Yellow, 10 out of 10. In the all-important yellow category, people don't get this. Most phones are not competing in the yellow segment. But Apple, they knew.
That is true. That is a an underserved market right there. But I will say that this iPhone does lose in the black, silver, blue, whatever, pink, whatever the other colors were. It loses in all of those categories. So you can't give it too much credit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is true. That's a very good point. In blue, it gets a 0 out of 10. Actually, I'm not familiar with my CYMK color spectrum, but I don't know if there might actually be like 1 out of 10. There might be a little blue in there if you when you look at your color wheels.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that because there's RGB, right? How do you make yellow?
What colors make yellow? Red and green. So
there's no blue.
There's no blue. So blue, yeah, 0 out of 10. Very disappointed.
Red gets a 5 out of 10.
Red does, green, yeah, 5 out of 10.
Green gets a 5 out of 10.
Yes.
So overall, not too bad.
Yeah, in the red and green categories, you can do a lot worse. For example, the purple iPhone ranks very low.
Absolutely.
Okay, so yeah, no, I legitimately cannot believe that there was that much coverage of the yellow iPhone when people don't really seem to be caring all that much about Apple's complete and utter lack of AI or iOS 16 bugs. But hey, paint, that's pretty cool.
Sure is. You know what else is pretty cool?
What's that?
Us ending the episode because we're already more than 5 minutes over.
Oh my gosh. Well, technically, our time to end is now. We gave them bonus at the beginning. So
Okay.
we aren't allowed, if we start early, we're not allowed to end early unless otherwise specified. That's part of the
Oh, I
rules of the
see.
contract.
I see.
Right, yeah. So just to make it clear that that's the way that the cookie crumbles.
Fair enough.
But the cookie in this case, unfortunately, is this episode of the podcast, and the crumbling is, of course, it ending. And the one crumbling it is us, your hosts, including me, Luke Miani.
And me, Noah Rubin. Our schedule for the next couple of weeks is
Right.
to be determined. So
Yes.
pay attention to the community tab or Luke's Twitter account, I guess.
Yes, we will be in Italy contemplating the yellowness of the iPhone.
Absolutely.
That's the express function of the visit. And so we'll see what we're able to do. We might end up doing like a pre-recorded episode, or if we can do a live episode. I don't know what the Wi-Fi will be like or even where we're going to be. But we'll see. We'll try our best, and hopefully we will see you guys in less than a 2-week interval.
Yes.
And with that, bye.
Have a good night.